Disney, the owner of ABC News and daytime talk show The View, is now the subject of a new report claiming CEO Bob Iger is urging the show's hosts to tone down their criticism of President Donald Trump. To sources cited by the Daily Beast, both Disney's CEO and ABC News' president have had conversations with show hosts, which indicated the higher-ups wanted the panel to tone down their political rhetoric.
What happens when The View goes to nuclear for Mickey Mouse's taste? Apparently, Disney's CEO starts eyeing the unplug button like it's a detonator. After one too many political rants, the House of Mouse is reportedly ready to cancel its noisiest daytime tenant. Did Whoopi accuse Goofy of voter suppression? Did Joy demand reparations for Cinderella's stepsisters? Who knows? But this isn't a fairy tale, it's a full-blown corporate cage match where daytime drama meets brand, damage control, and the happily ever after is definitely on hold.
Now let's move on to the reports that the Disney CEO and as well as the ABC News boss have told the hosts of The View to dial down the anti-Trump commentary on their program. Kinsey, calling it anti-Trump commentary barely covers it. It's unhinged hate and hyperbole day in and day out.
And I'm sure it won't surprise you to know that there has been some pushback from the host. Now, Trump continuing his battle with the media is in mediation right now with Paramount Global over a $20 billion lawsuit regarding CBS News' 60 Minutes interview with Kamal.
Yes, you heard right. Disney's top boss is allegedly weighing whether to pull the plug on The View, that beloved chaos machine where hot takes go to scream themselves hoarse. Picture the boardroom scene, executives calculating ad losses like Vegas odds every time the hosts spiral into another anti-Trump frenzy. It's not about politics anymore, it's about preserving whatever's left of Disney's reputation before the daytime slot turns into a daily PR wildfire.
Bob Iger has dropped the hammer. He said, look, no more. You gotta tone it back. And apparently the hosts are fighting this. They want to be able to keep talking about Trump. And they won't even bring on Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson about their book on the Biden presidency. Why? Because they had Biden on last week. They're complicit in the cover-up. They don't want anybody on there that's going to say the truth about a Democrat. Come on. Can't have that on The View. The View is named The View and not The Views for a very specific reason. You get one view.
Imagine the House of Mouse, home of princesses, magic, and family fun, now tasked with babysitting the panel of grown-ups in a perpetual meltdown. And not just any meltdown, a very loud, very consistent one, blaming Trump for everything from hurricanes to hiccups. Let's not kid ourselves. The View hasn't been a balanced talk show in years. It's a megaphone for moral outrage, where volume replaces logic and eye rolls count as policy points.
Oh, okay, so you have to read this thing.
Oh, I've got a legal note. Do you have a quick legal note?
You gotta milk this cow.
Yes, I have a legal note.
You have a legal note again.
Oh, I do. Wow, another one.
So
I have two legal notes.
Ginny denied any conflict of interest between her activism and her husband's work on the Supreme Court.
But
she acknowledged that's my legal notes. But let me say this very quickly. Ginny Thomas has denied any conflict of interest between her activism and her husband's work.
You got a
legal note. I have
note.
a legal note. Trump denied Esper's claims about wanting to shoot protesters. I have a
If virtue signaling were an Olympic sport, this crew would sweep gold in every category, somewhere between shrieking segments and outfits that scream "I hate subtlety." Disney finally seemed to realize the show was jeopardizing its squeaky clean, family-first image. They didn't sign up to be the network version of a protest rally, and now it looks like the mouse wants out of the madness.
Want us to be respectful and do the things and talk about the stuff we talk about. We can do all of that. But when you are blatantly giving the country the middle finger, that is blatant. You're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to take the plane.
Don't you think when he lets these white Africans in and claims that's giving the middle finger to the black community?
So how'd we get here? The View was supposed to be a marketplace of ideas, keyword supposed. What it became is a daytime drum circle of repetitive outrage, featuring the same few notes banged louder and louder in case someone didn't hear it the first 600 times. Their Trump obsession is so intense, you'd think he raised Epcot with a tweet, and the analysis shallower than a splash pad. But make no mistake, this isn't harmless noise. It's a cocktail of moral superiority, tribal politics, and a constant implication that everyone else is just plain wrong. That's not news. It's branding desperate exhausted branding.
Have received a warning from Disney CEO Bob Iger about their Trump derangement. Okay, the ABC News boss told the View host to tone down the anti-Trump criticism, according to a report. Now, the timing of this is very, very, very fascinating because we know the ABC News was on the receiving end of a lawsuit from President Trump after George Slopopotamus ended up defaming the president on national television in an interview with Nancy Mace.
Apparently, the final straw was a political rant so unhinged, so reality detached. Even Disney's legendary tolerance for chaos couldn't stretch that far. No. They weren't debating Goofy's tax bracket or whether Donald Duck qualifies for diplomatic immunity. This was full-throttle hysteria, the kind that makes a CEO wonder if they accidentally greenlit a daytime version of The Hunger Games, just with fewer jokes and more finger-wagging. Disney's walking a tightrope these days, juggling activist expectations while trying not to scare off their billion-dollar, family-friendly global audience. But when The View keeps turning into a full-scale ideological flame war, it's less about free speech and more about brand survival. One more televised meltdown, and it's looking like The View might be getting the fade-out treatment, no magic wand required.
Down. That is Disney CEO Bob Iger's message to the hosts of The View, who are known for their hot takes and blunt criticism of the president and his administration. ABC parent company Disney is reportedly feeling the pressure from the president.
That's according to the Daily Beast, that outlines a call with ABC's president and The View's executive producer. Iger told hosts Whoopi Goldberg, Joy Behar, Sonny Hostin, Anna Navarro, Sarah Haynes, and former Trump aide Alyssa Farah Griffin to cool it on the political rhetoric.
Somewhere in a Disney office, a corporate exec probably let out a sigh so heavy it shook the nearest glass of overpriced, artisanal water. It's one thing to manage Spider-Man's tangled web, quite another to manage a live broadcast that sounds like a political cage match with better lighting. The View has achieved the rare feat of alienating nearly everyone outside of its shrinking, yet die-hard fan base, the folks who tune in for the noise, not the nuance. Advertisers, however, aren't in the business of chaos. When your shows headlines resemble political IEDs, no brand wants to be caught in the crossfire. Ratings sliding. Advertisers cautious. Disney watching the numbers and wondering if they accidentally bought a leaky life raft instead of a talk show now. They're caught in a classic corporate dilemma. How do you keep milking a cash cow? That might be poisoning the well.
Meeting between ABC News' president and all of the ladies of The View, the hosts were told they needed to create a better balance of their show content, instead of it being heavily weighted on politics. According to the report sources, the ladies were told to try and focus more on celebrity appearances and lifestyle segments because ABC's president said those episodes perform well for the show.
So instead of yanking the plug, Disney CEO appears to be playing janitor-in-chief, quietly nudging the circus towards sanity. The irony is thick enough to spread on toast. The same company that gave the world princesses, Jedi, and joyful mice is now trying to rein in a show that screeches louder than a pack of hyenas on Red Bull. Disney was built on wonder and warm fuzzies, not political landmines and lipstick. Somewhere in the great beyond, Walt Disney is probably blinking in disbelief, a media empire now waging battle against its own daytime drama. The problem, The View thinks it's being bold. In reality, it's just being loud. And when your main hook is we hate Trump more than anyone else, the fuel eventually runs out, usually right around the time the news cycle moves on. If business schools studied daytime disasters, this show would be the cautionary tale on how to mistake noise for relevance.
The women of The View reportedly told their bosses to take a hike. One source reportedly saying, quote, "This is what our audience wants. Isn't it going to look kind of bad if we're all of a sudden not talking about politics?" They ultimately decided they weren't having it with the, quote, "silly requests," and said they would just keep doing their thing.
In response to the report, former co-host of the show, Meghan McCain, took to X, saying simply, "They will never do."
Instead of discussion, viewers get a nonstop barrage of rage bait dressed up as daytime debate. The format, screaming, smugness, and the occasional moral lecture so hollow it echoes. It's not news, it's noise, and the ratings reflect that. The roller coaster of viewership would make Space Mountain look like a kiddie ride. Each political detonation drives a few more viewers away, while the core fanbase clings on like it's a group therapy session for the perpetually offended. You'd think the solution would be to elevate the discourse, maybe add nuance. But The View responds to criticism the only way it knows how. Crank the outrage to 11 and scream into the void. Watching it is like witnessing a public tantrum about issues half understood and fully exaggerated. There's passion. Sure, but passion without purpose eventually just becomes background noise.
When The View, a show that is basically coffee gossip and yelling about Trump, gets told by ABC executives, you've got to take down the Trump criticism a notch. According to multiple reports, ABC News presidents, this is going to be a tough one, Alman Karamedovic sat down with the co-hosts and said less Trump, more celebrities. Disney CEO Bob Iger reportedly backed it up as well. Disney owns ABC.
Enter the most unlikely protagonist in this daytime soap opera, Disney's CEO. Not exactly a culture warrior. This is the guy who's supposed to guide Marvel, Pixar, and Star Wars through the ever-choppy waters of pop culture, not babysit a shrill panel show gone rogue. Imagine juggling galactic empires, talking toys, and princess franchises, only to be derailed by a bunch of grown-ups having televised meltdowns. Somewhere in a boardroom memo, there's probably a line that reads, less yelling about MAGA, more movies that actually sell toys. The idea that the CEO of Disney has to referee The View is absurd enough to be a sketch comedy premise. Will they quietly rebrand the show, scrap it entirely, or maybe turn the studio into a new Star Wars? Right, at least the screaming would be in character.
She even had the nerve to say, I love you too. Really? What? So what happened? 'Cause I mean, that's not a conspiracy. We just watched you, we just heard you say it. That was straight from y'all stage. And then in addition to that, Trump mentioned how he helped her with her movie free of charge. No money, no hate, no drama. Everybody's cool. So what changed? Could it be that Trump was the villain all along? Or did The View just, switch up their script real quick to sell fear and fear more?
Axing the show might actually be a rare moment of corporate clarity. Think of it like replacing the malfunctioning animatronic that keeps ruining the ride. Sure, someone might miss it, but everyone else enjoys the park more. In the ruthless world of media empires, there's only so much dysfunction you can subsidize before it starts eroding the brand. Disney made its name selling dreams, not dysfunction. And The View? It's become the very opposite, a cautionary tale wrapped in chaos and dipped in condescension. Canceling it wouldn't be about silencing voices, it'd be about salvaging reputation. Because when your brand is built on delighting families and enchanting children, you don't want your flagship daytime show doubling as a political shouting match. The magic doesn't survive that kind of noise. So what now? Does Disney quietly fade The View into the background? Retool it with tighter content guidelines, or just hope it implodes on its own? One thing's clear. When Mickey Mouse's corporate handlers start flagging your show as a liability, you're past the point of just bad PR. Picture a boardroom full of Disney execs doom-scrolling through viral clips of the latest blow-up, and wondering how they ended up managing a daytime meltdown instead of a media empire. Because for all its theatrics, The View is no longer just a TV show, it's a corporate crisis and false eyelashes. If Disney pulls the plug, it won't be about censorship, it'll be business. Cold, calculated, brand-saving business. And if it survives, expect more disclaimers, fewer meltdowns, and maybe a new segment called Calm Down Corner. Because at some point, even the happiest place on earth has to say enough is enough.